Hello, church family and friends. It's 2-Minute Tuesday. As I've mentioned in the past several videos, a question I get asked fairly often is, how do I figure out what God wants for my life? With this in mind, I've devoted this series of videos to the topic of discerning God's will. This is the 5th and final video in the series, and here's what we've covered so far. First, discernment starts with devotion. It's not about getting God to serve our will. It's about us seeking and submitting to and celebrating God's will. Second, discernment is concerned more about God's general will for our whole life than it is God's specific will for one little part of our life. Third, discernment is as much about what not to do as what to do. And this is where God's law, his stated rules and regulations, come into play. If we're living within the confines of God's law, then we can be assured that we're living according to God's will. Fourth, discernment is a gift that God gives, not a skill that we get for ourselves. Here in our final video, we'll talk about the true heart of discernment, and that is discipleship. Discernment is about tuning our hearts to the voice of Jesus Christ. This is what Jesus is talking about in John 10 when he says, "When the shepherd has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I laid down my life for the sheep." So if discernment is about tuning our hearts to the sound of Jesus' voice, how do we do that? Well, we tune our ears to his words. Jesus talks to us personally today, but our lives are full of spiritual noise. And so it's a real challenge for us to distinguish between his voice and all the other voices playing in our ears. So what we need to do to be able to recognize his new words to us is to go back and familiarize ourselves with all of his old words, his already recorded words. We do this by going back to the New Testament Gospels, poring over Jesus' words, paying attention to his life, and preoccupying ourselves with his principles. When we do this, two things happen. First, we recognize when he speaks to us now because it sounds like what he's already said. Second, we are receptive to every new word from Jesus because we've already embraced his every word from the past. This is it. The heart of discernment is discipleship. We tune our hearts to the sounds of Jesus' voice by tuning our ears to his every word.